How's it going? This is Codem.exe, and here with another video with basically trying to tell people how to not get scammed by Best Buy when you're trying to buy a PC, or specifically a gaming PC from Best Buy. And right now we have a photo from their website. This was taken on the 13th of November in 2020. And what I really want you to focus on is the pricing, right? For $514, well, $14.99, you can get a HP desktop with a Ryzen 5 series CPU, 12 gigabytes of memory, 256 gigabyte of solid state drive, and keyboard and mouse from the picture. So interesting thing about what HP does with this desktop is they try to advertise it as a gaming computer, and it is a computer that is capable of gaming, but it's missing some key components, and its other components are, one, misleading, and two, kind of configured wrong anyway, and we're gonna get into that. So the next picture will be of what HP claims is its features. And what I want you to pay attention to is what they call a Ryzen 5. And it says, enjoy high application performance and smoother gaming experiences with AMD Ryzen 5 processors. With machine intelligence, multitasking capabilities, and efficient architecture with up to 6 cores and 12 processing. First, the 12 processing is a typo, I believe. It should say 12 processing threads, but that's neither here nor there. So I want you to focus on them saying AMD Ryzen 5 processors, which would lead you to believe all Ryzen 5 processors have up to 6 cores and 12 processing, right? Whatever that means, but that's not actually the case. And then the next thing I want you to bring your attention to is the 12 gigabyte of system memory for full power multitasking. It says plenty of high bandwidth RAM to smoothly run your games and photo and video editing applications, as well as multiple programs and browser tabs all at once. Now, this statement is misleading because while the computer is capable of multitasking, a lot of computers are nowadays, because over the generations and over the past few years, core counts on CPUs have risen, so have thread counts, and so multitasking have in general become a more of an affordable feature, we'll call it. But this is a weird configuration. 12 gigabytes of RAM in a desktop is a very weird configuration. You usually only see these kind of configurations in laptops or something along the lines of that. But the part I really want you to focus on is plenty of high bandwidth RAM, and where it claims you can do all these things all at once. And like I said, this computer is capable of multitasking, is capable of video editing, is capable of photo editing, playing games, running multiple programs and browser tabs and things like that. You could do all that on this computer. Will it work that well? Probably not. And it's because of how weird the configuration of system RAM they have and the amount of RAM. While it's not, let's say, the least amount of RAM they could give you, it's just not ideal because of the pairings, and we'll get more into that in the next picture. And then when we get to the specifications, I have it highlighted as well. The parts I want you to really focus on is the memory. We'll start talking about the memory first. Like I said, 12 gigabytes is a very weird configuration, and that's because on the motherboard itself, it only has 2 slots for memory sticks, and they include 2 memory sticks. And memory sticks, as of right now in 2020 and for like the past 5 or 7 years, have come in multiples of 4s. So you have your 4, your 8, and your 16 gigabyte sticks, and I believe your 32 gigabyte sticks, and maybe your 64 gigabyte sticks. So and the higher end are usually reserved for computers built for servers, and for desktops you usually don't see sticks higher than 32 gigabytes per stick. So with a 12 gigabyte stick, there is no 6 gigabyte sticks, there's no 12 gigabyte sticks for that matter. There's no 10 plus 2 sticks or something like that. In general, you want to run sticks that are like 4 plus 4, 8 plus 8. You want to match these RAM sticks. It gives it the best chance of compatibility. But here they include 2 sticks and they give you 12 gigabytes of RAM. So they must have given you an 8 plus a 4 stick of RAM. Super weird pairing. You do not see this in any other kind of builds or anything of that sort. This is just a super weird pairing. If anything, it should have been either two 8 sticks or 2 4 sticks to give you that dual channel. I think this configuration will still give you dual channel bandwidth, but I'm not quite sure. But overall, this RAM, again, is just a weird configuration. Next is the graphics. Now, when you're talking about a PC that can game, you're talking about having a dedicated graphics card. There are integrated graphics that is very capable of gaming. Think of like your consoles from the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 have integrated graphics. But on desktops, the integrated graphics usually aren't really that strong. And for a little bit more money, you can get dedicated graphics, which is a dedicated part and goes into your computer and it's much more robust and more powerful at running games and gives you way better performance than integrated graphics. Another thing with integrated graphics is it uses your system memory. So remember, you only have 12 gigabytes of system memory because of this weird pairing that they gave you. And even if you only had 16, even if they give you 16 gigabytes, if the AMD Radeon RX Vega 11 GPU that's on the chip, on the CPU I should say, decided it needed 2 gigabytes of system memory reserved for whatever operation it was running, it will take over the 2 gigabytes and reserve it for itself. So then you only have 10 gigabytes of system memory, which again isn't a slouch by any means, but it's like a caveat next to it. So you really don't have 12 gigabytes at all times. And on top of that, it's just this weird pairing, right? And you might or might not have dual channel system memory going with this weird configuration, or you might, like I said, I'm not exactly sure, because for one, I've never seen this weird pairing. And lastly, we're going to talk about the Ryzen 5, right? And the up to 6 cores and 12 processing. And when you look at the name of the CPU, it claims it's a 3rd generation CPU and it's the 3400G. Well, that's not quite accurate, because if we go to the AMD website and we look for the 3400G specifications, what you get is this picture here, where the AMD Ryzen 5 3400G is a 4-core and 8-thread CPU. So you don't get that 6-core CPU or 6-core 12-thread CPU. You actually get a 4-core and 8-thread CPU. And it's not a bad CPU by any means, but it's not actually that 6-core and 12 threads that they were trying to, sell you on by claiming, the Ryzen 5, family of CPUs and so on. And on top of that, like I said, they claim it's a 3rd generation CPU when actually it's more of a 2nd generation CPU with a refresh done on the graphics and relabeled as a 3rd generation CPU. So you have a little less performance in a CPU department because it's older architecture, but the graphics is better than its 2000 counterpart, which was a 2400G. So when you put all that together, right, and like I said, for $515, closer to like $550, maybe around $600 after tax, this isn't a very good computer. You only get 256 gigabytes of storage. It doesn't have a dedicated graphics card. You have this really weird RAM pairing. The RAM is kind of on the slower side, and the integrated graphics uses up some of your system memory, and how much it uses can varies, but at max it'll take 2 gigabytes. And this is a very bad marketing segment for this PC on this webpage, because it doesn't really tell you, as you can see in the picture, it never tells you how many cores or threads you're actually getting. It just tells you the processor name, how fast the processor is running, and what the model is. And even that can be misleading, because you can type in AMD 3rd generation Ryzen 5 and it most likely will, you know, come up as the 6-core 12-thread part, and you will think, okay, yeah, this is what I'm getting. Especially if you don't know anything about PC hardware, if you're just looking to get a gift for somebody, if you're trying to just get into PC gaming. And this is how these big companies get over on people. And I see a lot of people with the reviews like, oh yeah, this is good. A lot of people like this desktop for some reason, but overall for the price, especially after tax, you could actually build you something comparable or even better than his PC. And I actually have one that I bought and paid for with my own money, built it and game on it. And if you're interested to see that PC, check out the card section for the video. So with that being said, this has been Kodum.exe. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, share the video if you haven't already, and I would definitely catch y'all in the next one. Peace out.